Judge Vanderbeek Court is now in session. Judge, this is case number JVB 1011, Berkeley versus Alberts.
Thank you. Okay, you all may be seated. Okay, Miss or Mrs.? Miss Berkeley, you brought this case before the court. What's going on?
Your Honor, I'm here to get custody of my grandchild and also to make my or soon-to-be ex-son-in-law
Folks, today's case is a legal roller coaster you won't want to miss. A determined grandmother is stepping into court, fighting not only for custody of her granddaughter but also for back child support from the child's father. The stakes? Massive. The emotions? Even bigger. Judge Bundy opens the proceedings, confirming the case details. Right out of the gate, the grandmother makes her case. She says she stepped up when the father stepped away. Now, she's asking the court to officially name her as the child's legal guardian. But here's the twist. The father has no legal obligation to hurry. And while the grandmother believes she's doing what's best, this isn't just a matter of love. It's a matter of law. Can a grandmother override a biological parent's rights based solely on what she believes is best for the child? The court has some serious questions to answer.
My daughter was diagnosed with lymphoma, and Your Honor, it was a long and difficult process, as you can imagine, and he wasn't up for it, and he left. And so I went and helped my daughter and helped my granddaughter through this process. And they had been legally separated. He was paying child support, but when my daughter did pass away, I checked into the account. I had access to her financial business, and I checked the account, and he was not putting the payment in there. So I am looking for the back payments that are due, and I am looking to get custody of my granddaughter.
Okay, so let me just make sure I'm clear. Your daughter is deceased now.
Yes, ma'am.
And my condolences.
Thank you.
You're pretty much trying to step into the shoes of your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I understand.
I think it would be far more appropriate for me to be raising the daughter than for him.
Okay, why do you believe it would be more appropriate?
He has a lifestyle that I don't necessarily think is best for raising children.
Okay, well, I guess I'll get that from him. Mr. Alberts?
Yes, Your Honor.
What's going on?
Grandmother doesn't hold back. She paints a vivid picture of her daughter's battle with lymphoma, the pain, the hardship, and how, in her words, the father wasn't built for it. When he stepped away, she stepped up, and now she's convinced she's the right person to take custody. Then she pivots to the financial side. She argues for back child support, claiming the father stopped contributing after her daughter's death, leaving the child without support. But here's the legal wrinkle. Child support is meant for the parent, not the grandparent. And with the mother no longer here, the judge is already spotting cracks in that part of her case. Finally, she takes aim at the father's lifestyle. Too much time spent in bars, too much reliance on babysitters. But Judge Bundy knows that accusations aren't evidence, and speculation won't win a custody battle. Now, it's the judge's turn to challenge every claim she's made.
Correct.
Which ones are not correct?
The fact that I bailed on my wife, our marriage was over a long time before that diagnosis, and we mutually agreed that I would pay child support, that I would support her financially, and I did until she died. And now there's no one to pay child support to, and I don't know why she's dragging me in here, trying to take my kids away from me, talking about my lifestyle, saying I didn't love my wife.
What lifestyle is she talking about?
I don't know. Ask her, Your Honor. I really don't know.
What lifestyle?
Well, he spends a lot of times in bars.
Okay.
A lot of time in bars. He spends a lot of money on babysitting because he spends a lot of time in bars.
Okay. Going to the bar is legal.
True, but who's going to be there to help with homework? Who's going to be there to hear the sad story of how she was bullied in class that day? A babysitter? I don't think so.
So are you always at the bar and leaving the baby with a babysitter?
No, Your Honor. Anytime
How would she know that?
Maybe because I call every night to say goodnight to my granddaughter,
Okay.
and it's the babysitter that picks up the phone.
Okay, so you don't necessarily know whether he's there or not, right?
Well, why would there be a babysitter there if he's there?
Well, I don't know, but I'm just saying, you don't necessarily know if he's present or not. You just know that the babysitter picks up, right?
Yes. Okay,
Okay.
technically, yes.
Okay, well then technically you don't really know.
First move, setting the record straight. The marriage was over. Before the diagnosis, he didn't abandon his wife. They had already moved MD on. That changes the emotional weight of the grandmother's argument on child support. He's firm. He paid while his ex-wife was alive. Once she passed the payments legally. Stopped, he isn't dodging responsibility. The law simply doesn't require him to keep paying. The judge is already leaning in his favor. Then the lifestyle accusations, the grandmother claims he's always at bars. But how does she know if she isn't physically there? She's relying on second-hand information. And in court assumptions don't win cases.
Or you have someone spying on him, which is completely wrong. But that really has nothing to do with why we're here today. His child support should have stopped because there is no one to pay the child support to. Your granddaughter lived with your daughter, right? At
Yes.
the time of her death? Right. So you can't step into the shoes of your daughter. The only other living parent is dad.
True, but Dad was not around for the last 2 years. I was.
Right, but the child now has been living with dad since your daughter passed away, right?
Yes.
And when did your daughter pass away?
About a year ago.
Yeah, your rights are not superior over his in this particular case. There wouldn't be. There's no reason why he should be paying child support to you. You had access to the account that the money was going into because of your daughter. But now that she's deceased, there's no one to pay the child support to. So he should not be paying child support anymore. So he did the right thing. You just may not agree with it, but
I do not agree with it, Your Honor.
why do you need the money?
I don't need the money. I need to make sure that my granddaughter is getting everything that she deserves.
But how would you know that if she lives with him? Now, if she lived with you, that would be valid. But if she lives with him, you can't necessarily speculate and say what he is or he isn't doing.
Well, I know what my granddaughter tells me.
Well, we're not going to go into that because children aren't very honest all the time. And how old is this child?
6.
Yeah, they have a very big imagination. So, I can't do anything about that. He should not be paying child support. And I'm assuming you cover the child on health insurance?
Yes, Your Honor.
The only thing I can order, pretty much is that he maintains that child support, the medical.
It's the law's turn to speak. First up, child support. Denied. The judge is firm. Without a legal recipient, the father has no obligation to continue payments. That part of the case? Officially off the table. Next, custody. The grandmother argues passionately that she should become the child's primary guardian. But the judge doesn't budge. The father is alive and, under the law, custody remains with him unless he's proven unfit. Emotion isn't enough. Facts and evidence are what count in court. Before wrapping up, Judge Bundy offers one final note. If real, verifiable evidence of neglect ever surfaces, the door could reopen. But as it stands now, the grandmother's claims just don't carry legal.
Further from you?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else from you?
What if the child wants to come live with me?
Well, she's 6 and you're not her parent. So she does not get to make that call. Now, if dad starts doing something, like if it's actually proven that he's been neglectful and going to bars or anything like that, and the child ends up living with you, then yeah, but you're not the parent. So unfortunately, I can't do anything about that.
Right.
Okay. If there's nothing further, you all are dismissed.
The grandmother came into court believing that love should outweigh legal rights, but the court saw it differently. Parental rights aren't determined by emotions. They're governed by law. While she may have been the emotional anchor in the child's life, that doesn't automatically grant her superior rights. The father, flaws and all, remains the legal parent unless something drastic happens to change that. This case perfectly highlights the tension between legality and morality. The grandmother's role in the child's life was undeniably important, but it wasn't enough to override the father's legal standing. At the end of the day, the law holds more weight than sentiment.